The knock came like a thunderclap in the midnight hush of their Brooklyn walk-up, sharp and insistent, rattling the flimsy doorframe. "Don't open it," Jamie hissed, his voice a raw scrape against the shadows, fingers digging into Alex's arm like anchors in a storm. But then the voice from the hall pierced the air, low and laced with gravel. "Ethan? Ethan Caldwell, I know you're in there. It's me, Riley." Alex froze, the name he'd buried 3 years ago clawing its way back like a ghost from a shallow grave. His heart slammed against his ribs, a wild drumbeat drowning out Jamie's frantic whispers, as memories flooded in unbidden. Sun-soaked summers in rural Ohio, stolen kisses behind the bleachers, and the brutal shatter of a family that called him abomination. Riley, the boy who'd promised forever, then vanished when the world turned ugly. How had he found him here, in this cramped sanctuary of reinvention, where Alex had become just Alex Rivera, barista by day, dreamer by night, hiding from the echoes of who he'd been? Jamie yanked him back from the door, his dark eyes wild under the fringe of his bangs, the scar on his cheek, a memento from a hate-fueled brawl in the village, twitching with urgency. "Whoever he is, he's trouble. You said no one knows, right? We built this life clean. Don't let some ghost fuck it up now." Alex nodded, but his hand trembled on the knob, the wood cool and unforgiving under his palm. 3 years of careful lies. The forged ID from a shady contact in Queens. The job at the corner cafe where tips came easy from sympathetic hipsters. The quiet nights tangled in Jamie's arms, forging something real amid the ruins. But Riley's voice lingered, a siren's call laced with danger, pulling at threads Alex thought he'd severed clean. He didn't open the door that night. The knocks faded into silence, swallowed by the city's endless hum, but sleep evaded them both. Jamie paced the living room, his lean frame coiled like a spring, muttering about changing the locks again, about how trust was a luxury they couldn't afford in a world that still spat on men like them. Alex sat on the sagging couch, knees drawn up, staring at the peeling wallpaper as if it held answers. Ethan Caldwell was dead, or so he'd told himself, killed off in a haze of panic after his father's fists and his mother's cold disownment, after the church elders branded him with fire and brimstone for loving Riley under the harvest moon. Alex Rivera was the phoenix, scrappy and unscarred, or so he pretended. But one word from the past, and the facade cracked. By dawn, the city stirred awake, horns blaring like accusations, and Alex dragged himself to the cafe, the scent of fresh grounds a meager shield against the chill in his bones. The morning rush blurred into autopilot. Lattes for the suits, black coffee for the insomniacs, smiles that never reached his eyes. Jamie texted twice, "Stay sharp. Love you," short bursts of warmth in the digital void. But as Alex wiped down the counter, a shadow fell across the register, and there he was, Riley Harlan, broader than memory, with the same tousled blonde hair and storm-gray eyes that had once been Alex's undoing. No ghost, this, flesh and blood, smelling faintly of leather and rain, a duffel slung over one shoulder like he'd just stepped off a cross-country bus. "Ethan," Riley said, the name a quiet detonation, ignoring the alias scrawled on Alex's name tag. His voice carried the lilt of Ohio fields, unchanged, but his face bore new lines, crow's feet from squinting into too many suns, a faint scar above his lip that Alex didn't recognize. The cafe noise faded to a distant roar. Alex gripped the espresso handle like a lifeline, steam hissing in protest. "How?" was all he managed, the word cracking like dry earth. Riley leaned in, elbows on the counter, voice dropping to a conspirator's murmur. "Your mom's obituary. Buried in the local paper last month. Cancer, quick and cruel. I went to the funeral, stood in the back like a stranger. Saw your sister slip a note into the flowers. He's in New York. Brooklyn. Rivera. Figured it out from there." Alex's stomach twisted, mom gone, without a word, without the reconciliation he dreamed of in weak moments. And Sarah, his little sister, the one who'd cried when he left, promising to keep his secret. Betrayal? Or mercy? "I can't do this here," Alex said, glancing at the line forming behind Riley, the barista on shift shooting him a curious look. "Shift ends at 2. Meet me at the park, Prospect, by the lake." Riley nodded, those eyes searching, hungry for the boy they'd lost, and slipped a crumpled napkin across the counter. A phone number, scrawled in faded ink. As he walked out into the gray December drizzle, Alex felt the weight of eyes, not just Riley's, but the cafes, the streets, the world's. Brooklyn was supposed to be freedom, a mosaic of misfits where queerness was badge, not burden. But secrets had a way of following, like shadows at noon. The park was a skeletal affair under winter's grip, bare branches clawing at the overcast sky, joggers pounding paths like they could outrun their demons. Alex arrived early, hood up against the wind whipping off the water, hands shoved deep in his pockets to hide the shake. Jamie had called during the walk. "Where are you?" "That guy's bad news. I can feel it." And Alex had brushed him off with half-truths, the guilt gnawing like acid. Jamie was his anchor, the one who'd found him shivering on a bench 2 years back, fresh off the bus with nothing but a backpack and bruises. They'd built walls together, literal and figurative. The deadbolt Jamie installed after a homophobic slur turned to shattered glass, the inside jokes that warded off the loneliness. Love, yes, tentative at first, then fierce, a rebellion against the hurts that shaped them. But Riley was the origin story, the first cut that never fully healed. He spotted Riley across the lawn, striding with that old confidence, the kind that came from football fields and unchallenged privilege. Up close, the changes hit harder. The breadth of his shoulders from manual labor, maybe construction, the wedding band glinting on his left hand, a silver noose Alex hadn't anticipated. Married. The word escaped before he could cage it, sharp as shattered ice. Riley's laugh was bitter, wind-tossed. To a ghost, maybe. Emily, high school sweetheart, pressure from the family. Lasted 6 months before she figured out my head was still stuck on you. Divorced now, quietly. Dad cut me off when he found out. Said I was a disgrace, chasing that fag from the next county. Been drifting since. Odd jobs in Chicago, then the road. He stepped closer, close enough for Alex to catch the faint whiskey on his breath, the desperation in his gaze. I never stopped looking, Ethan. After you left that night, blood on your lip from your old man's ring. I swore I'd find you, make it right. But you vanished like smoke. Alex's throat tightened, the memories surging. The farmhouse kitchen, Dad's bellow of scripture and rage, Mom's silent tears as she handed him bus fare with trembling fingers. You left first, he accused, voice raw. Went to college, never called, never fought for us. I was alone, Riley, 18 and broken, sleeping in shelters while you played normal. The words hung heavy, accusations laced with the ache of abandonment. Riley flinched, reaching out, but Alex stepped back, the distance a fragile shield. Not true, Riley pressed, voice cracking. I wrote letters, dozens, to your house, to Sarah. Your dad burned them. Told me you were cured at some camp. I believed him until I didn't. Drove back last year, confronted him. He laughed in my face, said you'd offed yourself in the city. That's when I knew I had to search for real. His hand hovered, then dropped. Ethan, Alex, whatever you are now, I need you to know, I love you. Always have. And I'm not leaving till we fix this. The confession landed like a gut punch, stirring dust motes of what-ifs in Alex's chest. But across the park, a figure lingered by the benches. Jamie, coat collar turned up, watching with arms crossed, his expression a storm cloud of jealousy and fear. The triangle snapped into focus. Past colliding with present, loyalties fracturing like glass under pressure. As Riley waited for an answer that wouldn't come, Alex felt the first twist of the knife. The realization that Riley's arrival wasn't just a reunion, but an unraveling, pulling at threads that could drag them all under. Jamie cornered him the second he stepped through the door that evening, the apartment's single bulb casting long shadows across the thrift store rugs. Who the hell is he, Alex? And don't feed me that old friend bullshit. I saw the way he looked at you, like you were water in the desert. Jamie's voice was a whip, laced with the hurt of too many close calls, his own scars a roadmap of betrayal. The ex who'd outed him to his conservative folks, the job lost to whispers of that gay kid. Alex sank onto the bed, head in hands, the weight of the day pressing like a vice. His name's Riley. From before, Ohio high school. The one I told you about, the first love that broke me. The admission spilled out in fragments, pieced together with Riley's revelations, the obituary's sting, the ring that wasn't. Jamie listened, pacing tighter circles, his bare feet silent on the creaky boards. When Alex finished, silence stretched taut, broken only by the distant wail of a siren. And you let him in? After everything? What about us, Alex? This. Jamie gestured wildly at the space between them, the shared mugs on the nightstand, the photo of them at Pride last June, rain-soaked and laughing. Or was I just the rebound, the safe bet till the real thing showed up? No. Alex surged up, grabbing Jamie's wrists, feeling the pulse race beneath the skin. You're mine now, my fight. Riley's the scar, not the salve. But doubt flickered in Jamie's eyes, a shadow Alex couldn't banish with words alone. They collapsed into each other then, a tangle of limbs and reassurances, kisses fierce but edged with desperation. Yet as Jamie's breath evened into sleep, Alex lay awake, staring at the ceiling cracks like fault lines in his resolve. Riley's number burned in his pocket, a talisman or a bomb, and the knock from last night echoed in his skull. The next morning brought rain, relentless sheets that turned Brooklyn streets to rivers of regret. Alex called in sick to the cafe, the lie bitter on his tongue, and met Riley at a diner off Flatbush, the kind with vinyl booths cracked like old skin and coffee that tasted of regret. Riley slid into the seat opposite, eyes red-rimmed, as if he'd chased ghosts through the night too. Talk to Sarah, he said without preamble, pushing a soggy envelope across the formica. She gave me this, letters you never got. Alex's fingers shook as he slit the seal, yellowed pages spilling out. Riley's handwriting, looping and urgent, professing love in the face of exile, begging forgiveness for silences that weren't his fault. One dated weeks after Alex's flight. If you're reading this, I'm coming for you. No more running. Tears blurred the ink, hot and unwelcome, as the diner's hum faded to white noise. Why now? Alex whispered, folding the pages with care. After all this time, what changed? Riley leaned forward, voice a gravel whisper. Your mom. At the funeral, your dad cornered me, said he'd hired someone to find you. Make sure you stayed gone. Some PI, digging into your new life. I think he's coming, Ethan, to drag you back or worse. The words landed like ice water, chilling the warmth of reconciliation. Dad, unyielding, Bible-thumping Harlan Caldwell, who'd once locked Alex in the barn for a week to pray away the devil. The threat wasn't idle, it was legacy. Panic clawed up Alex's throat, but Riley's hand covered his, steady and warm. We're in this together now. I have a plan. Fake a trail to Jersey, throw him off. But I need you to trust me. Trust, the word a minefield, littered with Jamie's fears and Alex's fractures. As they plotted in hushed tones, the rain drumming like fingers on a coffin, Alex felt the story shift. Not just reunion, but hunted, the past a predator closing in. Back home, Jamie was waiting, arms crossed in the kitchenette, a half-packed duffel at his feet. Saw you with him at the diner. Cozy. The accusation hung, jealousy sharpening to a blade. Alex explained, the letters, the threat, the PI, words tumbling in a rush to bridge the chasm. Jamie's face softened fractionally, but his eyes held storm. So what's the play? Run with Prince Charming, leave me holding the bag. Hurt laced the sarcasm, born of his own ghosts, abandoned by his twin brother after coming out, left to fend in foster limbo. No, Alex said, stepping close, cupping Jamie's face. We run together, all of us. You're not losing me to yesterday. The kiss that followed was a vow, sealing cracks with heat and promise. But as they mapped escape routes on a crumpled subway map, doubt lingered like smoke. Riley texted coordinates for a safe house in the Catskills, a cousin's cabin off-grid, and Alex showed Jamie, their hands overlapping in tentative alliance. Yet in the quiet hours, as Jamie slept curled against him, Alex wondered, could 3 broken pieces make a whole, or would they shatter anew under pressure? The PI arrived like a specter 2 days later, a nondescript sedan idling across from the cafe during Alex's shift. He was average, mid-40s, paunched straining his trench, eyes like dull pebbles. But the way he scanned the crowd, lingering on Alex's name tag, screamed purpose. Heart hammering, Alex ducked into the stockroom, fumbling for his phone to text Riley. He's here. Jamie's shift at the bookstore ended soon. They had to move. But as he slipped out the back alley, a hand clamped his shoulder. Not the PI, but a kid from the cafe, wide-eyed busboy with a crush. Dude, that guy's asking for you. Said he's family. Family. The words soured, twisting Alex's gut. He bolted, weaving through pedestrian throngs, the rain-slicked streets a blur of neon and hazard. Riley met him at a prearranged bodega, engine running in a borrowed truck, Jamie already shotgun with a glare that could curdle milk. Get in, Riley barked, and they peeled out, tires screeching like banshees. The drive north was a pressure cooker, Jamie and Riley trading barbed silences, Alex mediating from the middle seat, the envelope of letters a talisman on his lap. Billboards blurred past, NYC's glittering excess giving way to upstate's somber pines, as tensions simmered. First crack came at a rest stop, Jamie lighting a cigarette with hands that shook, exhaling venom. So, Golden Boy, what's your angle? Sweep in, play hero, steal my guy. Riley's jaw clenched, but he met the fire head-on. Not stealing, saving. You think I don't see how you look at him, like he's glass about to break? I know because I did the same, back when we were kids dodging hay bales and hypocrisy. The rawness disarmed Jamie, who stubbed the smoke, eyes flicking to Alex. He broke you too, huh? Welcome to the club. By the time they hit the cabin, a ramshackle A-frame buried in snow-dusted woods, the air had thawed to wary truce. They barricaded the door with what furniture they had, a fire crackling defiance against the chill, and over-canned stew, stories spilled like confessions. Jamie's, the brother who'd chosen blood over bond, leaving him to fists in group homes. Riley's, the divorce that stripped him bare, wandering jobs that paid in isolation. Alex's, the barn prayers, the bus to nowhere, the night he met Jamie under sodium lights, both bleeding from fresh wounds. Laughter crept in, tentative, bonding them in shared ruin. But dawn brought the twist. The PI's card slipped under the door. No note, just a number and a taunt. Caldwell knows. Panic reignited, but Riley's cousin arrived with news. Dad wasn't hunting alone. A local pastor, firebrand from their Ohio church, funded the chase, preaching sermons on reclaiming the lost lamb. The stakes sharpened, not just disownment, but forced conversion. The camp's Alex had escaped by threads. We fight, Jamie declared, voice steel. Expose them, recordings, posts, whatever it takes. Riley nodded, pulling a hidden dashcam from the truck, evidence of the sedan's tail. As they plotted counter-strike, a deeper current stirred, feelings untangling, old loves yielding to new constellations. Alex caught Jamie and Riley sharing a look over the fire, not rivalry, but recognition. Two guardians orbiting the same fragile star. That night, in the cabin's loft, hands intertwined across invisible lines, whispers weaving futures unbound by past chains. But outside, snow-muffled footsteps, the hunter closing, the climax brewing in white silence. The blizzard hit like divine wrath, blanketing the Catskills in white fury, trapping them in the cabin's creaking embrace. Power flickered, then died, leaving candlelight to dance shadows on log walls, turning the space intimate and claustrophobic. Alex paced the main room, phone signal long lost, the PI's card a serpent on the mantel. He's out there, he muttered, waiting for the storm to break us first. Jamie, ever practical, rummaged for batteries, his movements sharp with suppressed fury. Let him come. We've got each other. That's more than he can say. Riley, nursing a bruised ego from a slipped axe while chopping wood earlier, watched them both with quiet intensity. The truce had deepened overnight, forged in vulnerability. Jamie admitting his fear of loss stemmed from a foster dad who'd cured him with belts. Riley confessing the wedding ring was a panic talisman, worn till it choked. Alex bridged them, his touch a language of absolution, but the storm mirrored inner tempests, winds howling regrets, lightning flashing what-ifs. As night fell, they huddled by the hearth, sharing a flask of bourbon that burned paths to truths unspoken. You ever wonder, Riley ventured, voice soft against the gale, if we'd met sooner, or different, would it have been enough? His eyes on Jamie, then Alex, a question mark in the flames. Jamie snorted, but without heat. Fate's a bitch, but yeah. Seen enough rainbows to know love's not a straight line. The pun landed light, eliciting chuckles that eased the knot in Alex's chest. For the first time, he saw it. not a triangle of tension, but a circle, resilient, each side strengthening the whole. Hands linked in the fireglow, promises murmured, to stand, to heal, to love without apology. But the storm birthed betrayal's shadow. Morning cleared to crystalline calm, revealing tracks in the snow, not the PI's sedan, but boot prints circling the cabin, deliberate, probing. Heart pounding, Alex peered through frost-laced glass and froze. Sarah, his sister, bundled in a parka, face pale as the drifts, waving a white scarf like a flag. "Ethan, it's me, open up." Relief warred with suspicion. Riley cracked the door, rifle from the cousin's racket ready. But Jamie held back, instincts screaming trap. She tumbled in, snow shedding like tears, collapsing into Alex's arms with sobs that shook her frame. "Dad sent me. Said to bring you home. That Moms will leaves everything if you repent." "But I couldn't. I saw what he's doing, the pastor's lies, the money for that thug." Words poured. The Will's codicil, a fortune tied to reformation, the PI's bribes to church informants, Dad's health failing, clinging to zealotry like a raft. Sarah's eyes, once wide with childhood awe, now etched with complicity's guilt. "I gave Riley the note at the funeral, thought it'd save you both. But Dad intercepted my calls, twisted it." Rage and pity collided in Alex, hugging her tight as the others absorbed the blow. Riley's face darkened. "He used you as bait?" While Jamie fetched blankets, his touch on Sarah's shoulder gentle, disarming her fears. Over coffee reheated on the stove, she spilled more. The pastor's network, reaching into New York's synagogues and bars, outing queers for donations. The real threat, a rally planned in Ohio, Dad as figurehead, vowing to purge the cities. Alex's story leaked as cautionary tale. The revelation twisted the plot. Escape no longer sufficed. Confrontation loomed, a reckoning across state lines. "We go public," Sarah urged, pulling a thumb drive from her pocket. Recordings of Dad's rants, pastor's deals, smuggled from the church office. "Hit them where it hurts, the flock. Show the hypocrisy." Alliance solidified. The 5, wait, 4, with Sarah now woven in, charted the return. Back to Brooklyn, lawyers from Jamie's bookstore contacts, journalists Riley knew from road gigs. But as they loaded the truck, engines growling to life, a distant rumble echoed. The PI's sedan, cresting the hill, headlights like predator eyes. The chase ignited on icy backroads, truck fishtailing through slush, sedan gaining in relentless pursuit. Alex gripped the dash, heart a war drum, as Riley floored it, Jamie barking directions from a crumpled atlas. Sarah white-knuckled in the back, whispering prayers not to the old god, but to whatever force had spared them this far. Twists piled. A bridge out from storm damage forced a detour into unplowed wilds, the sedan ramming their bumper once, metal screaming protest. "He's crazy," Jamie yelled, twisting to fire a warning shot from the rifle, crack echoing like judgment. They lost him at a logging turnoff, doubling back through deer paths Riley navigated by gut, emerging onto highway under cover of dusk. Bruised, breathless, they limped into a Queens motel, neon buzzing vacancy like a lifeline. In the dim room, adrenaline crashed into exhaustion, bodies collapsing in a heap on the king bed, limbs entangled in platonic solidarity. Laughter bubbled up, hysterical. "We make a hell of a heist movie," Sarah gasped, forging bonds from the forge of flight. But in quiet moments, Alex traced Jamie's scar, kissed Riley's knuckles, held Sarah's hand, love's many faces, defying the singular script of hate. Dawn brought strategy sessions over takeout, the thumb drive's contents transcribed on Jamie's laptop. Emails to allies, a queer rights group in Manhattan, a reporter from the Times who'd covered conversion camp scandals. Riley's charm secured a press conference slot. Jamie's networks rallied protesters. Sarah, redeemed, vowed testimony. "I'll face Dad, tell the world what faith isn't." Yet undercurrents swirled. Jamie pulling Alex aside, voice small. "This circus, it's bringing us closer, but scares me too. What if victory costs the quiet we built?" Alex cupped his face, thumb brushing lips. "Then we rebuild, louder. With him, with her, all of us." The kiss sealed it, deep and anchoring. While Riley watched from the door, a soft smile acknowledging the weave. No jealousy now, only expansion, love as verb, as village. The climax crested in Columbus, Ohio. A week later, the pastors rally, a sea of crosses under stadium lights, dad on stage, voice booming scripture twisted to venom. The prodigal returns, or perishes. Banners waved, chants rising like smoke. But across the lot, their counter, megaphone in Jamie's grip, Riley at the mic stand, Sarah beside Alex, thumb drive projecting on a borrowed screen. Protesters flanked them, rainbow flags snapping in the wind, allies from Brooklyn to the heartland. Dad's eyes locked on Alex from the dais, widening in shock, then fury, abomination. But Sarah stepped forward, voice steady. No, Dad, you're the one lost. Recordings played, bribes, threats, the PI's logged calls. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Murmurs turned to outrage as faces split, some fleeing, others nodding, the flock fracturing. Riley's testimony followed, raw and riveting. I loved your son then, love him now, not despite faith, but because grace is bigger than your hate. Jamie's turn sealed it, scar bared like a badge. We survived you. Now thrive without. Chaos erupted, scuffles with zealots, media swarming like locusts, but security held, the rally crumbling to echoes. Dad lunged from the stage, face purpled, but Sarah intercepted, tears streaming. It's over. Come home. As family, not force. He crumpled, not in rage, but ruin, the empire of enmity exposed. In the aftermath, under hotel fluorescents, they debriefed, lawsuits pending, donations pouring to queer shelters, headlines crowning their defiance. Alex, between Jamie and Riley on the sagging couch, felt the weight lift, not gone, but shared. Sarah curled nearby, redeemed, the circle complete. What now? Riley asked, hand on Alex's knee. Home, Alex said, smiling at the mosaic. Ours, all of ours. Twists resolved, conflicts crested, the story arced to quiet triumph. Love's victory over legacy, bonds forged in fire, enduring. Yet epilogues whisper. Months later, in a Brooklyn brownstone bought on settlement funds, laughter fills rooms repainted hope. Alex writes, a memoir, cathartic, Jamie illustrates, Riley builds shelves sturdy as their vows. Sarah visits, bridge mended, bringing Ohio's softer winds. Prejudices linger in the world, but within walls, they've carved sanctuary, deep, dramatic, defiantly whole. And on stormy nights, when knocks echo faint, they answer together, no doors closed to the real.